In this video, I'll be walking through how you can become rich and wealthy, and I'll be doing that following my own footsteps that I've gone through from someone who was absolutely zero to today having a business which is worth more than 9 figures with a gem flow. And my name is Shan, and in the past 8 years, I've been helping some of the biggest people online make millions of dollars and $300 million plus. And in that time, I've made a lot of money for myself too. But what's crazy is that ever since I could remember, the very first thing was I wanted to be rich. And I know a lot of you probably think the same, thought the same. But I also remember thinking that I will be able to do it because I think differently. And what I mean by that is I never wanted to be like other kids. I never wanted to go work in a shop and get paid hourly. For some reason, my brain always said to me subconsciously, there has to be a better way. Think differently. And it meant in the early days, I figured out how to buy and sell stuff to other school kids and make more money than working in a shop or get paid by the hour. It meant I started using the internet in the early days and started selling on eBay and Amazon and became a power seller. Started making thousands of dollars online. And I just always took the other route versus the conventional route, which in that case was, essentially work like any job part-time growing up and make some money. And so for me, one of the biggest things about being rich or wealthy in your life is that you naturally need to be the person who wants to do the thing that nobody wants to do. And that can be seen almost in all the big cases, right? If the guy is a Travis who started Uber, he's like, everyone's getting taxis, I'm gonna build my own thing. Time and time again, it's Elon with, battery cars. You have to think differently to the market, to the other people to be able to do that. And that's the number one trait for someone that wants to be rich, wealthy, that I have personally myself. I think that's the biggest trait that's allowed me to go to a place where, the truth is, for me, my life and, my kids' life is going to be sorted. And it's all because of this one thing, the ability to think differently in the right times that then allowed me to profit off that. But that being said, though, I still had to do something, right? Because growing up, as I said, I was selling online, doing stuff or whatever. And the truth is, I had the same pressure that a lot of people do, that you still have to go to university, you still have to get an education because that's how you're going to earn money in life. And that's a safe, sustainable way, whatever. But I knew that is not how to get rich. That is not how you become wealthy in life. I will not be able to do that by just working a normal job. It's most likely not possible. There's a chance that you can rise to the very top, and the top 1% people in, lots of different roles make a lot of money. But I knew because I wasn't academically smart. I had terrible grades. I had D's ever since I could remember. I got 2.2 in university, which is 50% essentially, I think. So I was never smart enough to get the best job and become the top 1% person in a company. Why? Because I think different, right? Because if I was the person who thinks like everybody else, you can actually do well in a business, in a company, and excel. I was actually too dumb to work well for other people. That for me, being different and doing my own thing seemed like the smartest route to being rich. Which leads me to my second point, that in my opinion, if you want to be rich, you have to go all in on one thing. This idea that you can have passive income, this idea that you can have many side hustles, this idea that you can be doing lots of things, and that's so popular now, it is not true. There is hardly anybody who's truly become rich and wealthy not focusing on one thing. Because you build something and you sell it is the most common way for someone to ever get rich in their life, truly. And we've seen this with the biggest, most famous entrepreneurs you've heard of, that's the way they did it. They essentially built the business and they sold it. Either you sell it all or you IPO it, meaning you sell majority of your shares on the stock exchange. And that's essentially every multi-millionaire to a billionaire. That's exactly how they did it. And so for me, you have to go all in on one thing. And the second part to that is you have to truly go all in on it, meaning that you can't be having a job and doing something else or whatever. You have to actually go all the way in. For me, I left my job to go all in, and it was do or die. And for me, that taught me more than any business book could, any mentor could, anything could, because I had to win. there was no other scenario, because if I didn't, I literally wouldn't have food and I wouldn't be able to pay for anything. And that wasn't an option. And you'll be surprised your own ability when that happens. And the truth is, which people probably don't like to say out loud, and a lot of entrepreneurs don't like to say, is that you have to have this crazy obsession with being rich or trying to get rich when you're in that phase. And that's why it worked for me. So firstly, when I was working and I left, I knew I'm entering a phase of my life that's going to end up making me rich. So I had opted into that, meaning you're okay with working 12 hours a day. You're okay if your eyes hurt and it's been 15 hours. You're okay if you sleep less for 6 months. You're okay if you negate other things in your life like health, friends, family, because it was a subconscious decision. It's not something you want to do for your whole life, of course. It's not maybe nice. It's not maybe the right thing to do in a general sense. But it is if you have a goal of being rich. Because you have to sacrifice, compromise, and be able to do the thing, again, that most people don't want to do. Most people want to finish work at 6 o'clock, and that's okay. Most people want to do whatever they want to do. That's okay. But that probably is going to hinder their chance of either getting to the top 1% of the company that they work for, or for them to ever be a successful entrepreneur. And this is not about that's olden day hustle culture. Life is not about that. And you're right. But if you want to be rich, you're going to have to go through a sprint of that, a phase of that, a chapter of that in your life, where that is important. It's the same thing of like athletes and sports, right? That if you didn't spend that years training, really trying, you basically didn't become a footballer. You didn't become a boxer. You didn't become an amazing artist because you sat there drawing, or you figured out how to rap and you kept on rapping and you figured out your flow. Those early days where everybody quits, where everybody wants balance, where everybody is chasing lots of 5 goals at the same time, it's not going to work. And there's a 2-part thing, because the second part to this is so many people are now chasing so many goals at once in life. Basically, someone who's like 23 years old and already they'll be chasing for the perfect day, the perfect balance, the perfect partner. They want to travel to 6-10 countries, a year. They want to build a physique. They want to, they have so many goals that essentially that alone is going to hinder you from getting rich. Because to get rich, you have to go all the way in and you have to master something, whatever that is. The truth is, you can get rich in anything if you're willing to outwork and outsmart everybody else. For me, in 2014, when I left my job, and 2016, I guess when we started to really scale and we launched the business and started to work, everybody was trying to help influencers work and work with brands and build these like dating marketplaces. I was like, why would I do that and essentially take like some sort of affiliate income when I could help creators, influencers nowadays, launch their own businesses? I use my own acumen from, I guess, growing up. And once again, I'm going to think differently. Because I could foresee when people build their personal brands and these audiences that they'll be able to monetize them. And that's what I do today with gemflow.com. We monetize the biggest audiences in the world for the biggest creators in the world. And we've sold $300 million doing it. And I've made $100 million myself at the back of that. And that is how, right? Thinking differently. Going your own way, putting the effort in. I outsmarted everybody else. It's the truth. Because a lot of those businesses don't exist today. Because they all rushed to do the obvious thing that everybody was doing. And you can see that today with people like making the quick AI apps, right? It's the same thing. You see it all the time. Because if everyone's doing it, everyone rushes to do it, think they're going to get rich. It's like, The truth is, by the time you hear about something and it's mainstream, it's already a bit too late. And that's just a fact. That's why I was saying build a personal brand and monetize it in 2016, 9 years ago. And you've probably started watching some guy who's telling you to do that like 6 months ago. It is a fact. Or you bought some course from some guy who told you 15 months ago. 9 years ago, I was saying that. On this very channel, scroll down And I think my first ever video 6 years ago, and I'm saying the same thing that I'm saying right now. Literally, the video is how I built like a $10 million business. And the whole thing was, I figured out how to make money from influencers. And that's how I made $10 million 6 years ago from today, right? So very important that if you're someone that wants to be rich, you need to really think differently, and you need to outsmart everybody else. And you got to be willing to go all the way in on one thing and just become an expert at it. So I became an expert at monetizing audiences online. That meant actually becoming an expert of content, funnels, ads, driving traffic, and all the fundamental skills you need in order to be able to pull that off. The next thing that I think is so important in like your quest to become rich, you almost have to stop consuming. And it's ironic for me to say that you're watching a business video on my channel. But the truth is, the less you consume, the smarter you will become. And that's who I think has been my number one thing. So when I first started, I literally used to listen to every podcast, watch every video, trying to read business books. I used to, be reading TechCrunch, The Times, The Economist. Essentially, I wanted to consume as much as possible. So I learned from people's mistakes. I want to learn from the experience. I want to learn from other people. I had 3 mentors that I was paying. I would go to meet them in their offices. I would come with all my questions and I would want to know what they're saying. And basically, I was like this junkie of information because I wanted to absorb it all and, just become the best. And I know a lot of you feel like that, watching things on 2x speed, trying to like consume shit, following every big business guy or whoever that you like on every platform and consume the videos, notifications, watch straight away. Read biographies of Elon Musk 10 times and 5 different authors, all that shit. But the truth is, I stopped all that. I stopped every single one of those things. And it was crazy. Even if you go to my YouTube today, honestly, it's going to be like UFC. It'll be like random shit that I like to watch. It's got nothing to do with business. Because when you kind of step out of the bubble, you start to really think for yourself. And when you start to think for yourself, that's how you start to think differently. That's when you see the white space in the market. Because when everyone's like, yo, let's go do this, bro, you get sucked into that. Subconsciously, that's the content you're consuming. So one of the best ways to be different is actually to be different. Don't be like every other entrepreneur who's trying to basically watch the same 50 people online, read the same 50 books, and trying to regurgitate the same 50 things. That's why literally everybody's offered this, that, this so carbon copy because everyone's basically watching the same shit. And that's one of the biggest things that I realized, that essentially if you fix the content that you consume, which are the inputs, your output will improve that much more. And I'll say that again. So if you fix the inputs in your life, i.e. the content you consume, every single thing that you come across, your outputs will automatically improve. And that was a massive unlock for me on this journey of becoming rich. And the truth is, as I was saying, this sprint before, I was talking about going all in. But the ironic thing is that when you get rich, then you don't need to. And then it's amazing. So today I could not work for 4 days if I don't want to. I just went away to the Maldives and I didn't look at my phone for almost a week because I have an amazing business and team and everything's going to be fine. It was amazing. I spent like non-stop time in the pool on the beach with my kids, having the best time ever. And the best thing is it was all inclusive, everything paid for. And I had one of the best trips of my life. Why? Because I put that effort in. Right? So the thing that you're chasing is there on the other side of it. Just not today. And if you're willing to give that up, if you're willing to give up 3 to 5 years now, the next 50 years of your life would be amazing. It's going to be more amazing than you could possibly imagine. One of the best things about making more money than you ever thought in life, honestly, I never look at the price tag. I just pay for something. I never look at a bill. I just pay for something. I'm not trying to say that in a egotistical way. It's almost like that's the prize that you're looking for, that you could buy anything for yourself or your loved ones or people. I have this charity that I run that every Friday, I live in this community. I feed 500 people, which are essentially the workers that keep this community amazing because it's so clean. They have cleaners, painters, people that take your trash, all that stuff. Like super amazing. And I feed 500 of those people every single Friday. And so you could do that, right? This is not about money to be rich and rolly or whatever, no. This is about you get to do stuff because you have the money. I have a charity also in Pakistan where my family's from, and we feed like families and families and families, the whole villages essentially. We go and drop them off like rice, flour, and all that stuff. Not only that, we've even started a program where essentially we sponsor families in full, pay for their education, school, the living expenses, etc. And that is all because I put that effort into one thing for a long period of time. That on the other side is all the balance that you could ever want. I can learn whatever language I want. I can take up a hobby I want. I can do all these things, but because of that. So stop trying to do it today. My biggest advice to you, anybody, even for myself, it's like, don't try to win in everything in life. Focus on the one thing, make that a success, and then everything else will be there for you. Anyway, look, just want to share that. Hopefully that'll be useful, some personal experience, and I'll see you in the next video.